Welcome to another Trance production tutorial. This time we talk about Trance basslines. I prepared an example for you and it sounds like this. So what do you need to do if you want to create trance basslines? First, let's take a look at our chords. In trance productions, I would recommend that you create a chord progression first and then you write the other stuff, like basslines, lead melodies and so on. I created a chord progression that sounds like this. In trance, we usually play the bass on the lowest note of any chord. So here we play the bass on the F. And on the next chord we play it on the C, because the C is the lowest note. And here we play the bass on the C sharp. When you use Sandok, it's very easy to always work on the lowest note automatically. Let's play the example again. When you work with a bass instrument, you simply set the source mode to chord notes, and then the 0 over here will play back the lowest note of any chord. Okay, so here's the next important point. There's not just one bassline in trance productions, but at least two basslines, and they play in parallel. As you can see, I already prepared a bass low, a bass mid and a bass high, and I will solo them so that you can hear the difference. In many trance songs we only use a sub bass and a middle bass, but if you want to work with a high bass, that's fine as well. The different bass sounds have different roles. The lowest bass is responsible for all the drive and the power in your song. The mid bass and the high bass provide extra rhythm and tension, and they add some additional movement to your track. In your DAW, it's important to use an equalizer on your mid and high bass. You have to remove all the low frequencies. If you don't do that, you will get a lot of rumble in the low end, and this will create a mess in your mix. Okay, let's start with a low bass. The most simple form is a standard offbeat rhythm like this. You can also add a stop symbol directly behind this trigger, and you can also use two triggers here. So I would say the simple offbeat and the gallop style here are the most important bassline patterns for the low end. And for the mid bass and for the high bass, you can add some variation. As you can see here, we work with 3 notes, and a good trick for the mid and for the high bass is using different octaves. When you click here, Sandok will transpose this step 1 octave up. So this is the most interesting little pattern. Another variation would be this one. And of course, you can also combine these rhythms. So let's use 8 steps, change this again, so I would recommend to use a very simple pattern for the low bass, a more advanced pattern for the mid bass, and if you work with a high bass, you can go extra fancy and simply add some extra notes and accents. So in this pattern, I simply clicked on some of the steps, added some octave changes, and now it sounds like this. I also created an extra Sounddock and Chord Potion package for you. So when you click on the pattern label, you can see that there are different bassline patterns. You can use this one, for example. Or this one. Or this one. And so on. You can download the package at feedersound.com, Packages, Trance Explosion. It's a free download, no registration, and it will also give you extra chord progressions, arpeggios, and much more. See you soon!